Today we're going to talk about writing linear equations and point-slope form. So the point-slope form of an equation is when it's written given the slope and the coordinate of a point on the line that is not the y-intercept. So slope-intercept had the slope and an intercept. Point-slope has a point and the slope. So when we're looking at this general equation here, the x and our y will have just x and y there. Where the numbers are going to be plugged in is the x1 and the y1 are the values from the given point, and our slope is m. We're going to be plugging in a number for that. So, number one, write an equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through -2, 3 with a slope of 4. So it goes through -2, 3 and a slope of 4. So, we have y minus our y in the point, so y minus 3 equals our slope of 4 times x minus -3. Well, minus -2. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. So we wouldn't want to write it as x minus -2. We just write it as x plus 2. Number two, write an equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through -1, 2 with a slope of -1/2. So, again, we start with y minus our y value. Well, the y value is 2, so y minus 2 equals our slope of -1/2 times x minus -1. Well, minus a negative is really plus a positive, so plus 1. And then example 3, write an equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through -1, 5 with a slope of -3. So we've got y minus our y value of 5 equals our slope of -3 times x minus -1, which is really plus 1. Write an equation in point-slope form for a horizontal line that passes through 6, -2. So, if it's a horizontal line, we know it goes this way, versus vertical doesn't have a slope. The slope is undefined because you can't do that with straight up and down. So since the slope in a horizontal line is 0, horizontal lines can be written in point-slope form. So our slope is 0, the point is 6, -2. So we have y minus our y value, which is -2, so minus -2 is plus 2, equals our slope of 0 times x minus our x value of 6. So that's just the basics of given points and slopes and plugging into point-slope form. Now we have the 3 forms of equations. So let's think about those 3 forms first. I'm going to write them on top. We have y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept. We have ax plus by equals c for our standard form, and we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 for our point-slope form. So the biggest thing to remember is that in standard form, a, b, and c have to be integers, and you need a and b on one side, with a being positive and c on the other side. So we're going to write this in, these first ones, in standard form. So here we're given in point-slope, y plus 5 equals -5/4 times x minus 2. So to write that in standard form, first off, we need to be able to get rid of this fraction, because we can't have fractions in standard form. So our first instinct would be to multiply by the reciprocal, but that still is going to give you fractions elsewhere. So what we actually need to multiply by to get rid of, before I even distribute, we want to get rid of the 4. So what I can multiply by to get rid of that 4 is to multiply by 4 over 1. Because this bottom 4 will cancel and this top 4 will cancel. But if I multiply the right side by 4, I need to multiply the left side by 4. And I need to distribute then. 4 times y is 4y plus 4 times 5 is 20. We canceled out our 4's. Now on the right side we have left negative 5 and then in parentheses x minus 2. Now we've got a basic equation that we should be able to solve with variables on both sides. So I need to distribute because we don't have parentheses in standard form. We got negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. Bring down 4y plus 20. So now the biggest thing that we need to remember is that our x and y should be on the same side and our constants should be on the same side. Technically, doesn't really matter where we move our x's and y's and where we move the constants, but we know that the a value, which is with the x, has to be positive. Right now I have a negative value. So I'm going to make it positive by choosing to move my x to the left side with the y. So if I have minus 5x, I'm going to add 5x. If I do that to the right side, I need to do it to the left side. So I'm going to keep it in order, x, y, and then constant. So we have positive 5x plus 4y plus 20 equals 10. And the last thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of the constant. Move that to the right side since the variables are on the left side. So I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. I get 5x plus 4y equals negative 10. So I'm just going to check to make sure everything worked. I have my x and y on one side, my constant on the other. They are all whole number integers, and our x is positive. So let's try number 2. So again, we need to get rid of the fraction. We are going to get rid of the fraction by multiplying by the denominator. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So if I am multiplying this side by 2 over 1 to get rid of the 2 value, then I need to multiply this side by 2. So my 2's on the right cancel. Over here I'm going to need to distribute. 2 times y is 2y plus 2 times 7 is 14. Over here we canceled the 2's. I'm left with 1 times the quantity x plus 2. Now again, I need to get rid of the parentheses because we don't have that in standard form. 1 times x is x, 1 times 2 is 2. Bring everything else down. And again, now we need to get my x and y on one side and the constant on the other. Remember, it doesn't matter what y is, but we need x to be positive. Right now, x is positive, so I'm going to keep the x over here and bring the y over. So if I have positive 2y, I'm going to get rid of it by subtracting 2y. I'm left with 14 on the left side equals, I'm going to put it in order, x, y, and then number. X minus 2y plus 2. And the last step, we need to move the constant to the opposite side, to the left side. So if I have plus 2, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. 14 minus 2 is 12, so I get 12 equals x minus 2y. If we check, they all have integers. The x is positive, x and y are together, constants on the other side. You can rewrite this. It's more proper to rewrite it as x minus 2y equals 12, but I really will accept either one. Okay. Just looking at one more basic one, y minus 13 equals 4 times x minus 2, putting it again in standard form. So we don't have fractions, but I do need to get rid of the parentheses. So I have to take the 4 on the outside, multiply it by each term on the inside. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, so minus 8. Bring down the y minus 13. Now, again, I need my x and y together, and I want the x to be positive. Right now, my x is positive, so I'm going to keep it over here. I'm going to move the y. If I have positive y, I'm going to subtract y from both sides. On this side, I'm not left with 13, I'm left with negative 13 equals, I'm putting it in order, 4x minus y minus 8. So I have my x and y together. Now I just need to move the constant. If I have minus 8, I'm going to move it to the other side by adding 8. Negative 13 plus 8 is negative 5 equals 4x minus y. So again, I can keep it that way, or I can rewrite this as 4x minus y equals negative 5. They both work. So I'm going to leave these 3, and we're going to move on to the other side. All right, number 11, y plus 6 equals 2 times x minus 2. So I need to take, well, actually what we need to look at is that we're putting this into slope-intercept form instead of standard form. So in this case, we are just solving for y. There's no parentheses, and we need y alone. So as always, I'm starting with parentheses. I'm going to multiply 2 times x to get 2x, and 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. Bring down the y plus 6. Then the only thing that we need to do here is if we have plus 6, we don't want that with the y, we need to get it away. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I'm left with y on the left, 2x, negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10. So again, y, our slope-intercept form, we have our y alone, and then the x on the side with the constant. Okay? Let's try one more of these. We've got y minus 2 equals 1/2 times x plus 5. So again, I need to get rid of parentheses first. So I'm going to take the 1/2 and distribute it. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x plus 1/2 times 5, or 5 over 1, is 5 halves. Bring down the y minus 2. Now we just need to get rid of the minus 2. So I'm going to add that to both sides. I'm left with y on the left, 1/2 x. Maybe you can do this in your head. If not, 5 halves is equal to 2 1/2. So 2 plus 2 1/2 equals 4 1/2. So what I would like you to do right now, the 5 problems that I left undone, I want you to try on your own and get them checked before moving on to the homework.